I think you get this too a lot. You're basically your family's IT support, right?
Oh, yeah, sure.
So whenever something breaks, they just call Jeff, right? Or make it Jeff's problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. This happens to my mother-in-law, and she calls me, and I was like, what's going on? She's like, my laptop, the keyboard's broken. I'm like, how broken? Like nothing works? She's like, no, it works, except the N key doesn't work. And I was like, really? She's like, yeah, the N key just stopped working. And I'm like, well, there's probably just some shit under it. Just got to clean it out. She's like, yeah, I don't know. And I was like, look, I'm not going to see you for a couple of weeks. So instead of dealing with me, just call your IT support desk. When they ask you what's wrong, tell them that your computer's broken, that you can't write any N-words. And I'm pretty sure they'll get it resolved straight away. And she kind of pauses, and I was like, just trust me. Just go. It'll be fine.
This will be fine.
Quiet, please.
You know, my wife's like, please don't tell her that.
In 4,
Why are you making her do
3,
this?
2.
Company presents a truly terrible podcast. Welcome to Nonsense Season 2, Episode 37. I'm Jeff Parker.
37? Jesus, I need to get a job.
Isn't that crazy?
I'm Stu Little.
And this music is so loud, I feel like I have to shout for you to hear me over it. This is our take on the week's business, tech, and entertainment headlines. This time, we'll look at a twist in the advanced chip-making Taiwan story I'm not sure many of us saw coming.
Turns out they weren't making them. They just outsourced them all to AliExpress.
Who knew? It's United Nations Day, reflecting the official creation of the United Nations on October 24th, 1945. The purpose of the United Nations is maintaining international peace and security, developing friendly relations among nations, achieving international cooperation, and serving as a center for coordinating the actions of member nations. It's widely recognized as the world's largest international organization. It also might need a little updating. There are 5 permanent members of the Security Council with veto power: the United States, the United Kingdom, France, China, and Russia. Japan and Germany don't even have permanent seats on the Security Council.
France?
Yeah.
They're still a country? I'm always shocked when I see them come up.
This is because when they were created in 1945 and they chose the countries to go in, it was probably made perfect sense in 1945. It was all your allies.
No.
2024, it makes no sense. It's absolutely insane.
They needed somebody to fucking cater it. It's what they needed. That's what it was. They're like, well, it's not going to be the Brits. That shit's terrible. The Chinese food's pretty good, but sometimes I'm just going to be hungry afterwards.
Sure.
There's no food from Russia that's good. It's like, oh, let's bring in France.
The membership is going to swell now.
Yeah, that's what I think happened.
How is your week going?
It's all food centric to me. Yeah, you bring up a really good question. I don't know why the UN hasn't been updated. I guess it's one of those things where nobody that has the power wants to give any of it up.
There's nothing in the charter for amending it or ways to amend it. It's just like
it'll just last forever.
It's stuck in 1945 forever.
Not that our amendment system's going great, but at least we have one.
Yeah.
My week has been interesting and surprising.
Okay.
As you know, I'm a big fan of the technology.
Is that right?
Yeah. And you know, I like to keep technology running well past any reasonable life expectancy.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
It's a form of masochistic torture and sort of a technology penance, if you will.
Things the rest of us refer to as garbage.
Yeah.
You're still running.
Yeah. No. It all has feelings. No, come on. You remember Dr. Arenberg? Dr. Arenberg said that, just because the technology is old doesn't mean that it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, he was talking about a pen.
Yeah, well, I've extrapolated. So anyway, I had the power supply on a NAS die.
Yeah, of course you did.
It's still unclear, but it may have taken a drive with it.
Sure.
So fortunately, I had another power supply on hand because hoarding, and I was able to swap that in. Not just any hoarding old technology that's heavy.
Sure.
Let's just be clear. Yeah.
Even worse.
Yeah. So now I'm in this anxiety-ridden phase of RAID array rebuilding.
Yeah.
Which is ironically one of the times that you are most likely to lose another disk is during a RAID rebuild.
Of course.
Normally, this would not fill me with too much concern, but up until recently, most drives have what is called an unrecoverable read-error rate.
Yes.
You know what that is? A URE.
Yes.
So typically around 10 to the 14th bits, which if you do the math is about 12.5 terabytes. So the theory goes that if you have an array that gets to be around that size, you're more likely than not to experience a URE, which folklore claims causes the entire rebuild process to fail, and then you lose your whole array.
Sure.
It's unclear to me if you actually lose the entire array or just the bad block, which is really the thing that you should lose.
You've overused this thing. Let it go.
No, I still got to store data somewhere. Come on. Hours of memes. Anyway.
It's okay. You can modernize your gear.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you this great thing. I'm going to show you this website, Amazon.com. You can get stuff.
Did they bring it to you or have to go pick it up?
They'll bring it to you.
So here's the takeaway. Much like UTIs, UREs should be taken seriously. That's really what I want to communicate.
Okay. That's the point of all this.
But I did this to myself. Not just because I've kept the shit around forever, because literally in the past couple of days before this happened, I was looking at buying new kit to build a new NAS specifically for high-speed access, like 40 gigabit links and all this stupid shit. So the universe knows when you do this.
Oh, yes.
And as soon as I started looking around, the old array was like, oh, you're going to build a new one? Oh, watch this. And just powered itself down.
Pay attention to me.
Yeah, exactly. Just like my kids. So that's it. So I'm just being a fucking nerd trying to get this ancient shit working. It's not supported anymore and drooling over the new stuff.
I am so sorry. There's nothing less fun.
How about you? What's been in your technology week of fun?
My week hasn't been technological at all. The Dodgers are in the World Series. I am sure Friday's game will begin with a moment of silence for Dodger legend El Toro Fernando Valenzuela. The six-time MLB star and 1981 NL Cy Young winner passed away Tuesday evening at the age of 63.
Terrible.
In the words of the late Vin Scully, if you have a sombrero, throw it to the sky. Fernando changed baseball by filling the stands with Hispanic fans for the first time since Dodger Stadium was built on land that previously held Hispanic neighborhoods taken by eminent domain.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know they levered eminent domain for that.
Not to make Dodger Stadium, they were going to build low-income housing there.
Oh, interesting.
And the guys who owned the Dodgers, when they flew over in a helicopter looking at all the different lands that were available in Los Angeles, where should we put a stadium for the Dodgers, they flew over this land and said, oh my gosh, this would be lovely. This would be perfect. And that's the land that they used.
And that's why we spend hours in traffic now at Chavez Ravine trying to get to the stadium.
And that's why Hispanics were quite upset about it
pissed, of course.
for a very long time, reasonably so.
Yeah.
And that's what became Dodger Stadium. However, Fernando Valenzuela changed all that and brought Hispanics into the stadium, which was cool. I also want to mention that we have a WNBA champion, but not without ref controversy.
Oh, boy.
Bad call at the end of regulation play sent the game into overtime, allowing the New York Liberty to prevail over the Minnesota Lynx. They have the greatest names.
They are the best names.
The Liberty became the first New York women's team to get a ticker tape parade.
That's pretty awesome. Also, this past week, there was another ref controversy, the one in college football. Did you see this?
I heard about it, yeah.
The Texas-Georgia game. This was fascinating to me. So the TLDR is there was a call that they clearly missed on the field. It was not reviewable. The Texas college kids decided, fuck that. Threw a bunch of bottles and beer cans on the field.
You review this.
The Texas coach Sark went running over there and was like, no, don't, please don't. We're going to forfeit this game or whatever, get a penalty. So they stopped. And then while they were cleaning up the field, the refs went over and had a little conference and they were talking. And they basically were like, oh yeah, we blew that call.
Yeah,
that was a mistake. And they reversed the call. They discussed it on the field and said, we just got it wrong.
Yeah.
We should fix it. And what's fascinating about that to me, by the way, I'm sure there was a video review, just not official, because they were playing it in the stadium.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm sure the refs saw it and they're like, oh yeah, no, we totally
missed that
totally fucked up, which is great because you want the right call to be made. So I totally appreciate that's the right outcome. However, you don't really want to encourage other fans in future games to be like, oh, you got that wrong. I'm going to throw a bunch of shit on the field.
Yeah, let's bring the game to a stop so you can think about this.
Yeah.
Now go think about what you've done.
But it was pretty fascinating to see that. Texas still lost the game, so it ended up not helping them. But
not making any difference.
Yeah.
I don't want to make this a giant sports show, but the Lakers are back. For the first time ever. A father-son played on the same NBA team. LeBron James, 39 years old, and his 20-year-old son, Bronny, played together briefly Tuesday night in front of Ken Griffey and Ken Griffey Jr., the first father and son tandem to play on the same Major League Baseball team at the same time.
That's pretty cool.
That was pretty remarkable.
I mean, it's happened in hockey, too. Gordie Howe played with his son, Mark Howe.
As I believe our floor director, Ron Nives, said, though it's made a lot of sense. I just hope LeBron has set aside a big pile of money for the therapy Bronny's going to need when this is all over.
Oh, boy.
Also, Tuesday, Chef Ludo, his own self made my tacos.
What? Why? I had to make my own tacos. What the fuck?
Lakers also had a lovely tribute to the late Jerry West.
Nice.
It was
that's cool.
Quite sweet. But enough sportsing. Yeah. Have you voted yet?
I have not. However, I do have my ballot, and I am ready to fill it out. However, I'm looking for the right color crayon.
Shall we get to our headlines?
We should.
Juul class action lawsuit is paying people huge amounts of money.
Yay.
Payouts from Juul's $300 million class action settlement are finally getting distributed, and some people are getting a lot more money than they expected.
So the first part of this that was surprising to me was that Juul has $300 million to pay out. That just tells you how big these fucking guys are.
If you scroll through the Juul subreddit, you can see posts showing hundreds to thousands of dollars hitting people's Venmo accounts. One screenshot shows someone who received more than $9,000. Oh my Lord.
Wow.
While others reported receiving as much as $4,000 to $6,000.
Okay, so here's the thing. It sounds great if you're getting $9,000 back from Juul. Like that's awesome. Here's the problem. You've given them more than $9,000. I guarantee you're not getting it all back. That tells me maybe you should settle down with the Juul using.
You're doing some serious Juuling if that's the kind of money you're getting back.
Perhaps consider a less addictive drug, like maybe heroin or cocaine or something else that's a little better for you. Maybe a little fentanyl instead of the Juul.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
That is insane.
There's nicotine in it. It is harder to quit the nicotine than it is to quit heroin.
I bet.
U.S. moves to block large transfers of U.S. data to China, Russia, and Iran. The U.S. is looking to stop certain countries, including China, Russia, and Iran, from buying large amounts of data on Americans, citing the threat of spying and blackmail.
So, good idea, right? I think you don't want them to have, quote, large chunks of U.S. data.
Where they can blackmail, sure.
It does beg all sorts of really interesting questions. Like namely, should anybody have this data? Like, even if you are in the U.S. or any other country?
Right. Apparently, we're okay with Yemen having it.
Yeah, Yemen blackmailing is fine.
Right.
But even just like in the United States, like, I don't know. I feel like maybe large transfers of data shouldn't be a thing about people.
Shouldn't exist, yes, at all. By the way, how are you possibly going to stop this from happening?
That's the other thing. Yeah, I don't know how you enforce this. It is interesting that they're putting in what appear to be some pretty strict penalties for folks who do this.
Okay, now with the headlines. Up next, high-end chip makers in Taiwan who've been asked by the U.S. not to sell to China are possibly selling to China.
Are these potato chips or tortilla chips?
Oh, that would be nice if that's what they were selling.
They're pissed off. No salt and vinegar to the fucking Chinese. God damn it.
Barbecue, fine. Yes, that's fine.
Fine. Cool Ranch. Nobody likes that shit. But fuck, we get the one. Nacho flavor only comes to the U.S.
I think that's completely reasonable. I totally get that.
They get salt and vinegar chips and Cool Ranch, and that's it. We're not budging.
Flamin' Hot? Absolutely not.
Those are ours. Get your own.
We have to draw the line somewhere.
Sea salt and frog? You can have all those. We don't like those. Those are gross.
Okay, let's go. It seems we to maybe 1-2 news stories. We don't tend to get a lot of news headlines.
We talk
into
a
the
lot,
show,
yeah.
because we have other things we want to cover.
I mainly just want to hear my own voice more.
Okay, well, great. We'll do that.
Okay.
But right now, what I would like to do is spend the next 30 minutes or so talking about some of the headlines that we have missed. And I was literally thinking headlines that went farther back than 5 minutes ago.
Okay.
But we just had something happen in the world that I think is of big interest, so let's start there.
Yep.
TSMC may have breached U.S. sanctions. Apple chip production could be at risk.
Well, okay. I don't know about the second half of that.
The U.S. Commerce Department is carrying out an investigation into whether Apple chipmaker TSMC, Apple and a zillion other people, TSMC breached U.S. sanctions against China by supplying smartphone and AI chips to Huawei. The probe was in part driven by Huawei's surprising ability to resume competing with iPhones. You know, they have lots of new phones now that are quite nice.
Sure. Yeah, well, okay, first of all, this is how a foundry works. They make chips for multiple companies, so no surprise there, yeah.
Lots of companies, yeah. But Apple's probably 23% of TSMC's output.
Did you just say probably as if you were estimating and then break out 23%? Fucking Rain Man?
The problem is I don't remember precisely if it was 22 or 23, but I'm pretty
23.68%.
Pretty sure it was 23.
All right, good job. Can you count the toothpicks?
Judge Wapner.
Yeah, Wapner at 3. Wapner at 3. This is weird that they're, I mean, obviously TSMC makes a lot of chips for Apple. I get that. This is not Apple's chip maker.
They make a lot of chips for everybody.
Yeah, this is kind of the world's chip maker is I think what I think we need to refer to them as.
If you shut down TSMC, you'd shut down 53% of the world's chip making capacity.
But okay, so on the surface, the most interesting part of this story is that what the U.S. is alleging is that TSMC has been selling chips
to China
in such a way that they're ending up in China. Maybe not to China, but to an intermediary that isn't selling them to China.
And they are supposed to, TSMC is supposed to guard against that.
Right.
They're supposed to know their customers.
Well, that's what's so fascinating to me. I get knowing your customer, but if your customer is an intermediary, you don't necessarily know where those chips are going. And I don't know what level of expectation you have to know that the person you're selling the thing to, the goods, is then reselling them to someone else. I don't understand how that works.
I think if you're making chips for Samsung, you know they're not probably selling them to someone else.
Sure.
If you're making chips for Apple, you know they're probably not selling them to someone else.
Yeah, of course.
I think the idea is that you will match input to output.
Oh, well, and if you're selling it to somebody who's going to broker them to others, I guess that's how you tip the hand, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know that now this company is. Why are they buying a bajillion chips? They don't make anything.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know you to have actual output, and therefore, why am I allowed to sell chips to you?
Well, okay, you're allowed to sell them to them because they have money. They showed up with a purchase order, and you're like, yes, we have chips. Do you have money? Yes, you have money.
Well,
we trade chips for money. That's our business.
They manufacture chips. You have some sort of design for a chip, and we will manufacture this for you.
That's kind of the part that's interesting, right? Is TSMC being a foundry, they make chips, right? You show up with a design, you tell them, I want these to look like X, Y, and Z.
Right.
It then takes them time to process it, put it together.
Yes.
Then you get a production run of chips. So
imagine, listener, if you will, if you don't know, that TSMC is a giant copy machine.
Sure.
You have to bring what the original is, and then they'll make a lot of chips based on your original.
Yes, and it's not like your holiday party where you get drunk and you go sit on the copy machine and photo your ass. It's not that part of the story. I mean, it could be.
Sure.
They'd probably sell them to you too, by the way. They'd be happy to take your money for your ass chips. But that's neither here nor there. I think the point here is I'm assuming there's some expectation, like Jeff just said, this know your customer, where you're supposed to know as a provider of your customer to know if it's a sanctioned entity or not.
Yes.
But that is not easy. It is not clear. Like, obviously, folks that are sanctioned go out of their way to try to hide ownership of businesses so that it's not clear that that you are a majority-owned Russian or Chinese business or whoever else, or Iranian, whoever else we've sanctioned. I do wonder, what's the burden, right? What's the burden that TSMC has? And like, also, by the way, they can't have very many purchasers. Maybe, I don't know, the Department of Commerce could help them. Be like, no, don't sell to those guys. Like, you would think they know better than anybody else.
But they are supposed to know their customers. And so you would think that would require them to know, well, this chip that we're manufacturing, it's going to be in a device because Apple makes so many smartphones. I know exactly where this chip is going.
You think you'd want to see the output? Yeah, you'd ask to see the output.
Yeah, I want to see a customer who's got output.
Yeah.
Now, if I make chips for Raspberry Pi, I know where those chips are going.
Yeah, sure.
But there's an awful lot of Raspberry Pi imitators that operate on a much smaller scale.
Sure.
I doubt these are made there, but they could be made there. Think about ESP32 boards.
Of course.
Are those chips made at TSMC? I mean, they could be made a lot of places.
Zero chance. No way. That is a commodity garbage, ancient design chip. There's no way TSMC's laying those down.
Because it doesn't need to be more than that.
No, by definition, right? I mean, those things are I shouldn't say by definition.
We should look it up.
It's not like it's designed to be old tech, but it's definitely, 3-4 iterations behind, if not more?
I don't know. Have you ever seen specs on an ESPN? Have you ever seen specs on an ESP32 board? How many nanometers is the chip?
I'm going to guess that it's super duper high, but that's a good question.
It's RISC-V. The design is not, an ancient design. It's a perfectly good design.
Yeah. So look, okay. So your ESP32, which is this Espressif Systems chip, it looks like the newer ones are built using a 40 nanometer technology.
So it's really old. They could fabricate that thing anywhere.
However, they are built by TSMC.
Oh my gosh, the irony of that. That's awesome.
But I guess that actually does make sense, right? You've got a bunch of old production.
I'm pretty sure I could buy chip fabrication machinery off of Alibaba that will do 40 nanometer technology. Yeah. That's how old that is.
So the ESP32, this is a single 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi and Bluetooth combo chip, and it is designed and made by TSMC using their low power 40 nanometer technology. So really what we're trying to say is you should get your news from somewhere other than nonsense, because we don't really know what we're talking about.
At least we looked it up.
At least we did look it up after we pontificated. Anybody could make these even Intel could make these. This could be an Intel chip. It's so old.
Intel could make these chips. Anyone could make these chips. Obviously, they wouldn't make it as cheap as TSMC because TSMC.
No, you'd pay. You got those bunny suits are expensive. This is fascinating. 40 nanometers was cutting edge. 15 years ago ish? No, longer.
Okay.
So my hunch is TSMC has
leftover machinery,
their own Smithsonian of just old equipment. Yeah, exactly. And there's one old guy named Hal. He's the only guy who knows how to run it. He's just in the back cranking out ESP32 chips. That's all he does.
You got to hit it on the side because sometimes it sticks.
You got to hit it just right. When it acts up, you got to just...
What's amazing about these Espressif chips, now I'm totally off topic here. What's amazing to me about these Espressif chips is they're so power efficient.
Yeah.
And they're running 40 nanometer processed chips. That shouldn't be. That's amazing.
So for everyone else listening to this show that's not a total home automation dork, these ESP32s are awesome because they're super low power. It has gads of processing power for any sort of sensor management.
Yeah.
You can get them for nothing. You can literally order them off AliExpress for a couple bucks each.
$6 for a board.
For a board. And it's full kit. I mean, all you got to do is give it power and it does everything you want it to do, including, a Wi-Fi stack. So you can add to it whatever you want. You can add a
Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, Thread. It's got all the radios in it.
Yeah.
And you and I have talked about this. I am 90% sure I could make a desktop Chromebook-like computer.
You probably could.
A serviceable desktop computer out of an ESP32 chip.
I mean, it's going to run super fast, of course. These things are super neat, and they are apparently made by, big surprise, TSMC. How awesome is that?
They could be made by your corner gas station, and they're being made by TSMC. I think you're getting into the cost of labor then, because there's no reason why these couldn't be made anywhere.
That's a reasonable presumption. I don't know. You got cost of kit too. So if you've got amortized kit, I really think that's a big part of probably why they're making these. Sunk costs.
They have buildings full of old machinery, of
course.
I
do wonder though, that stuff is big and heavy. You don't move it a lot. So are you just constantly building new square footage for the newer process and then...
Oh, TSMC definitely is. Absolutely is.
Arizona Desert, right?
Back to the story at hand. If you're making enough chips for Huawei phones, they're selling massive amounts of phones in China.
Sure.
If you're making enough for Huawei phones, if you were selling that to an intermediary, you might question, why am I making, 50 million of these chips for somebody who I don't know where? This is not going to Espressif.
That's my hunch as to what the Commerce Department's going to say here is this isn't a rounding error. This is a real number that's going somewhere, and it's not your $1 cheap, whatever, 5-cent ESP32 chip.
Right.
This is presumably a sizable, more expensive chip. So where's it going? It doesn't seem unreasonable for them to know what the final destination is for large volume orders.
Exactly.
We make banks track $10,000 transactions in cash, right? Why can't these guys track chip counts? Seems reasonable.
By the way, TSMC, we don't know if they've actually done this or not. They've only been accused of doing it.
Yeah.
As far as we know.
We have no leverage. What are you going to do? How are you going to restrict TSMC?
I have no idea. What are you going to do? Make it so that they can't manufacture Apple chips? Then you shoot yourself in the foot.
Yeah, well, I don't know why. Yeah, you would never do that. The only error we have in the quiver is this presumption that at some point China comes and takes what they believe is theirs. Taiwan, specifically Taiwan. And we're the only ones there to stop it.
They have what they call the Silicon Shield, which is they manufacture chips that we all need, so we would never leave Taiwan defenseless. We would always defend Taiwan.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily true if Taiwan is selling.
I disagree with you. I don't think it actually changes anything.
You have to defend them anyway, I guess.
All it does is make us grumpy. That's all it does. We still have to defend them.
Although we've given them $6.6 billion to make a chip factory in Phoenix, Arizona.
Sure.
Another $5 billion in loans.
Okay. But again, what are we going to do?
We might pull that back.
What, do you go repo our shit?
We haven't given them all the money right now.
Sure.
You give it to them a little piece at a time as they make progress.
50 grand in a bag. Yeah, I understand. You can do a little drop.
Yes, it's 50 grand in a bag.
Everybody just shows up at the bus station every Thursday at 2 p.m.
Just outside of Phoenix. You don't want to give it in Phoenix because those people have cameras.
Just outside of Phoenix. It's hot as shit. There's one random Taiwanese guy in a suit sitting in 120-degree weather at a bus stop. And you're like, why is he here every Thursday? No, I understand all this. But again, what are we going to do? If they keep selling these things to China, there's no world where we go, oh, yeah, sorry, good luck with your new best friend. Like, there's no way.
Sure.
Because then we just cut ourselves. They'll be like cutting off our nose to spite our face.
You have to put more money into somebody who can get the advanced chips made. And if you can't trust TSMC, what are you going to do?
These guys are just playing the hand that they're dealt. They know we've got no real leverage, and they know this is probably their last bargaining chip. So they're just going to be like, oh, yeah, we sold some stuff over here. And then we beat on our chest and say, you can't do that. And they go,
says who? Right.
Okay, well, what do you want us to do? What will end up happening here is we just end up writing them a bigger check to not do that or something. What could they possibly want that we don't already provide? They want 40,000 express visas to lift up all of TSMC and drop it off in the U.S.?
How about we talk to the Netherlands, our good friends at ASML, and they are allies, and we say you no longer provide ultraviolet lithography machines to TSMC.
Okay.
Then you just have those machines brought to the plants that you have created with the Chips and Sciences Act. I don't know what else you do. That pretty much effectively ends TSMC.
That is not a speedboat. That is a cargo ship you're trying to turn direction on.
Yeah.
I don't think that really works.
Because it's 3 or 4 generations down the road when those machines are needed by them. Until then, they've got the machines they need.
Yeah, I mean, your linchpin still seems to be ASML. You can try to choke them off, but I think as soon as you say, TSMC, you can no longer bring this stuff to Taiwan because we don't trust you, then they're going to be like, okay, well, we have no future with you. Let's go see what these guys in red have. Like, I just don't see a path through it. I think they're just playing their hand.
What we've heard in this story is somehow they've made older ASML machines work to create finer chips.
But my point is, the stuff they're buying from ASML now is going to be beneficial, or I should say production usable for them in a small, low digit number of years, 3, 4, 5 years from now. So if you cut them off now, they've got 3, 4, 5 years where they're just
being able to produce just fine
of whatever they're doing just fine. So they just go start shopping for another solution. Maybe it's not as good as ASML, but it's something else.
What are you going to do? Are you going to go to Japan? Or are you going to go to Nikon?
No, realistically, you're going to go to China. You're going to just push them to China. They're going to go figure out how to do it there. And maybe they're a couple years behind. It's still better than nothing. Yeah. What's your alternative? If the U.S. is strong arm about it, what's the alternative? I don't see one.
In China, they have chip manufacturing that is just slightly behind TSMC.
That's my understanding, yeah. Like they dumped out a 7-nanometer chip, I think, last year.
At Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corporation, which is a Chinese company that,
great name.
That is their,
rolls right off the tongue.
It is their version of the TSMC chip fabrication facility, and they are making 7-nanometer chips, apparently.
They should have a great ad campaign around that called SMIC inside. It'd be great. Such a terrible name.
Bling, 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 bling.
Exactly. They're like, no, original IP. What do you mean? Bunch of guys in little bunny suits. Yeah.
I don't imagine SMIC is making advanced lithography systems. That's such a specialized thing. I think you buy those.
If you can.
Someday you don't.
Well, I don't. Okay, no. I think you're wrong on both those accounts. Because the someday you make them is right in theory until you go look at the Intel case study. That's what Intel was on track to do. And then they said, no, we don't need this. Oops.
Right.
That wasn't right. So they were on track to make it themselves. themselves. And I think here, yes, you buy it if you can, but if you can't buy it, your options are now binary. Go out of business, build it yourself. My hunch is if the folks from SMIC roll up to their leadership at PRC and say, haha, sorry, can't do it.
Can't get the machines.
You are replaced by the next person. And I don't mean in role, I mean in life.
Yeah.
So that's not a good answer. You're much better off just marching into the void until you figure it out.
And you can easily hire away the guy who's got the information as to how to make it, or who's
money in a bag, man.
Thought
because
all this
money.
through. And yeah, every individual has a price, right?
Everybody's got a price.
Maybe not every individual, but an awful lot of individuals have prices.
There's enough people in the stack.
Right.
What ASML is tens of thousands of people. They don't all have the knowledge, but some subset do.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe it's carrot, maybe it's money in a bag, maybe it's stick. We have your family. Would you like to see them again? Choose. None of these are great options.
Yeah, this is awful.
Yeah.
This is kind of disastrous.
But I feel like this is the next biggest arms race, even bigger than the nuclear secrets of 30, 40, 50 years ago. Those had some value outside of defense, right? You had some value in reactor manufacturing.
Of course.
Some value, medicinal value. But that's not why they're spending money on it. They're spending money on it because they wanted to have an ICBM and be in the ICBM club. That was the intent.
Of course.
Here, this is like who gets to run the new world. That's kind of what's at stake here. Like if you don't have this, if you don't have access to this tech, in some number of years, low double-digit years, 10, 15, 25 years, you're just not a player.
Sure.
You're like a farmer.
Sure.
Like that's it. You're just going to be the farming industry of whatever that new economy is. So you've got to be on this. There's no failure. Like you have to succeed in some form. Whether you're 5 years behind or not doesn't really matter as much as at least being at the table.
You've got to stay hard in the game.
We have some cards to play here, but like we don't have a lot of leverage with TSMC.
What cards do we really have? A big customer for sure.
Well, not just big customer, but you go to folks and you go, well, look, what future do you want? Do you want some sort of, the version of perceived capitalism under PRC rule, or do you want presumed capitalism under U.S. quote unquote free democracy rule? Choose. I feel like that's probably the best bet you've got. Like, which bed do you want to be in?
That doesn't seem to affect TSMC if they are in fact selling to Huawei.
Well,
they don't seem to care where the world goes.
Selling to and ruled by are two different things. I got to believe quality of life in Taiwan is still better than quality of life in mainland China for most folks.
I tend to believe that, and that's true.
It's probably slipping towards one.
But for whatever reason, they're still willing to sell to China.
Yeah,
apparently.
because money.
If in fact they are.
But again, I'm taking the assumption here that they are selling. They're selling because it fills a fucking order.
Yeah.
I don't think they're looking at the bigger picture of like, oh, this is probably bad for our future because now China's got more power and more might. They're not thinking that way.
So I'm saying, how do you use that as a lever of power if you can't get the guy to stop selling? If he doesn't see how this affects him?
I think you've got to provide much more short-term incentive.
Like what?
Which is more money in a bag, or you airlift them out of there. And you say, well, this is a better place. Come here, live with us. But then you don't do it in fucking Phoenix. So you take them out of the sweaty, humidity-filled, earthquake-ridden Taiwan and you go, let's go here to the desert where people die.
You'll like this better.
No. Drop them off in like Southern California or Florida. Fucking Florida. Somewhere that's nice. Put them somewhere nice. I don't think Florida's nice, but some people do. It's not me. I don't know. The Dakotas. Somewhere that's nice and interesting. Not Phoenix.
The way that we discovered this is kind of interesting. It was regarding 5G chips.
Yeah.
You can't launch a smartphone without a 5G chip. So when we cut off Huawei from being able to get chips, theoretically, we cut off from TSMC, they should not have been able to have any more 5G chips.
That was the thought.
Yeah.
However, it looks like through High Silicon.
Explain who High Silicon is.
I believe High Silicon is a wholly owned sub of
Huawei. It's Huawei.
Of Huawei. So it's basically Huawei. Huawei has been making 5G or 7 nanometer 5G chips since I think about 2023. And folks are saying, well, okay, we're surprised by that. I'm not sure what part of that they're surprised by. Are they alluding to the fact that TSMC might be providing those chips and making them as a foundry? The presumption is if you're starting from nothing, it takes you years to get these chips up to the capability. That's assuming you've got a foundry that can do it.
Right.
And folks are being like, well, they did it too fast. We told them they couldn't buy in, 2020, and now they've already got chips in 2023. How could they go that fast? I'm like, well, they were probably working on it before. Like, I don't think they just started when you turned them off.
Right. They weren't coming from a standing start.
Like, it's more important for them to build this than national defense.
Probably, yeah.
Like, they're better off putting energy and resource into building more sophisticated advanced chips than more submarines. That's kind of bananas when you think about it.
It's certainly probably more urgent.
I'm not saying they see it that way, but it does seem like it's more urgent to who really is going to ultimately control the new world order.
Things changed in 2023 when Huawei launched the Mate 60, which is a phone, which included 5G. And nobody can understand how that was possible given the Chinese companies did not have the technology required to make the chips. Even the U.S. National Security Advisor commented on the surprise development. Now, it is totally possible that the Kirin chip was in development longer than we thought.
So one of their chips, they just went online They watched a couple master classes. They figured this out. Not hard. It was the pandemic, for Christ's sake. They're all bored.
Are there master classes for making chips? I had no idea.
It's invite only, but there's a ASML master class.
Oh, that's great.
I got it queued up right behind my Franklin barbecue.
The Kirin 990 5G chip is a 7 nanometer process. And so in 2023, if they did not make them at TSMC, they made them in their own foundries.
Yeah.
7 nanometer.
Running RISC, by the way.
It's running ARM.
Oh, sorry. It's running ARM. It's an ARM design that is RISC.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
probably it's licensed out of England.
Yeah.
Another ally who we should probably say, hey, don't sell to China.
Well, yeah. If you're going to give them a list of shit to do, don't sell to China, number one. Number two, put fluoride in your water. You funny tooth little wacky talking people. I'm just saying. If you're making a list of things they should do. Also, play football with your hands. Come on. Enough. You've got 4 appendages. Use them all. This is why I'm not getting the ambassadorship to...
this is the reason, yes.
To the land of funny teeth.
So can you fine TSMC?
No. What are you going to do? You're going to fine them?
They keep saying that, they're hoping that penalties are just fines and not reductions on manufacturing or things like that.
You know what?
You can't really do any of that.
Treat them like Google. Go try to break them up. Let me know how that works for you. I'll sit here and eat my popcorn.
It's all in Taiwan. They can't break them up.
Meanwhile, I'll be dusting off my 486. We'll have a return to that pretty soon. There's no leverage here on either side.
What's the other side?
What leverage does TSMC ultimately have?
Against us?
Against us. Like they can make the chips. Yeah, they can make the chips, of course.
They have all the leverage. They can just...
At some point we go, you know what? We're going to go plow $100 billion into ASML and into good foundries in the Northeast. And in 5 years, we're going to eat your lunch. And you're fucked.
Yeah.
Because you're fighting with the GDP of the U.S.
You're playing a very advanced game.
Fucking 5D chess.
Really, you have to look way forward for any of that to have any effect.
This is like mutually assured destruction, right? This is what the Whopper taught me in 1983.
The only way to win is not to play.
The only way to win this game is not to play. Like they should just both get along. The U.S. government and Taiwan should just come to some understanding, or really TSMC should come to some understanding and just work forward together in unison.
We thought we were.
Well, apparently we weren't. I think they're playing their hand. I'm not saying that that's dumb. I think they should. It was just a little bit of a bluff. Like, sure, play it while you can. But at some point, the tugboat comes out and you just pull the Netherlands and Taiwan right off the coast of the U.S. and Maine. And that's it. And you just cede that land.
The Netherlands does seem to be playing by the rules, though, that we have set out.
Well, they have even less choice.
We've asked them not to sell to China. They appear to not be selling to China, although who knows what we'll find out next week.
Yeah.
I think we are probably more dependent on ASML than we are even of TSMC.
They're the linchpin. ASML's the linchpin. That's the one you can't lose.
Yeah.
TSMC,
you live and die based on ASML.
I mean, one of the largest foundries, operational foundries in the U.S. is not a TSMC foundry. So we have foundries here. It's expensive to operate. And even the TSMC foundry, they believe that output chip cost could be as much as 50% more than the same chip made in Taiwan.
Because you can't abuse humans in the same way that they can be abused in Taiwan.
Well, you can. You just have to go to one of those funny states like Texas or something like that. There you can, I think.
There are tons of stories of TSMC managers who are sleeping under their desks for 30 days straight because they can't leave when a big job is running.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you want commoditization. You got 2 paths, cheap labor or tech.
Automation, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what level of tech TSMC is automating. Maybe we have a path with some AI. And
I'm going to step back and say I'm not even sure what Huawei was making was a big problem for the U.S. I don't know that.
Yeah.
But presuming it is, if I just concede that point, the fact then that TSMC is still selling to Huawei is a massive problem, and I don't know how we really fix it.
Problem for us. I'm not sure it's a problem for them. I don't know what they want their outcome to be. If they want their outcome to be largest top line, they're probably doing the right thing.
Right.
If they want their outcome to be some modicum of, I don't know, freedom or not PRC rule, I'm not sure they're doing the right thing.
But in the short term, they think they are. They have sales quotas like everybody else.
Yeah.
They're trying to make their numbers.
No, I totally believe that. But I do think, I really would hope that their middle management staff is able to look a little farther out than just making this quarter's deadline. But hell if I know.
Well, TSMC is agreeing they're going to do some investigating and find out what's going on, which is good, I suppose. They claim they're a law-abiding company committed to complying with laws and regulations, perhaps by the letter of the law, not by the spirit of
Exactly. I think that's the problem. It's really hard to know who you're selling to. You've got all these companies that are stood up and you don't know who the owners are. They don't have, like a private company doesn't have to make that public, right? They don't have to share it with you necessarily. So how do you know who really owns them? How deep do you have to dig?
Well, they're supposed to have TSMC manufacture for them. TSMC is supposed to know who their customers are. That's part of the deal.
I get it. So we're company, Super Chips. We're based in Singapore. What else do you want to know? Who owns you? Oh, some other Singaporean company. Well, who owns them? Some other Singaporean company. Like how far back do you go?
And then I say, no, we can't manufacture for you. By the way, we're manufacturing for Apple. We're manufacturing for Samsung. We manufacture for enormous companies. We know exactly who they are. We know exactly what they're selling.
I think that's the best argument against it. The best argument is if you're selling large quantities of chips to someone, you kind of have to see them them come out the other end, right? You sell to Apple, you see a bunch of iPhones pop out. You know that's where they're going.
Of course.
So if you're selling a large quantity, and I'm assuming these guys are buying large quantities, not just enough to make 50 Mate 60s and show them off to the world. If they're selling a large number, then you go, well, hey guys, where did these go? I know you're owned by Singaporean Holding Co., but where did these go? Show me some devices.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem unreasonable to me.
And related story. Can I move on to the next story?
Yeah, please.
It's very much related. U.S. lawmakers put pressure on Japan to increase Chinese chip restraints. Japan has been advised by the United States lawmakers to tighten restrictions on electronics and chip sales to China.
This is another one that breaks my brain. Like, you would normally think that Japan would be in lockstep with the U.S. They're one of our biggest allies. We're one of their biggest allies.
You'd think.
You also, Japan and the Chinese aren't known for getting along over, say, the past, 5,000 years.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're great bedfellows.
Right, exactly.
But again, I got to believe middle management somewhere is like, we've got to sell stuff. Somebody needs to buy it.
We've got to make our numbers.
Now, they don't say, in the little bits we've read about this, they mention the Japanese industry at large, right? They don't mention any individual companies. But you and I both know of a company there that you would think China would be very interested in having dealings with. Nikon, yeah, of course. Not just because of their cameras, because in addition to cameras, they also make optics for making chips, much like ASML, right? They're a much smaller player than ASML, but they're not really that far behind.
But probably in second place behind ASML.
Which, by the way, for perspective here, ASML is a $300-ish billion market cap business, and Nikon is a $6 billion market cap business, and they got a huge consumer line.
Because you don't buy the second place if you're fabricating chips.
Yeah, totally.
Second place is not an option.
Not if you want to be cutting edge. If you're ESP32, maybe Espressive could probably go out with some Nikon gear.
Espressive could do just fine that way.
They actually buy from true story. They actually buy from Polaroid. They want that vintage feel.
Wow.
Yeah, it's great.
That's lovely.
But you only get one shot at making those, and then when the fabs come out, they got to put them under their armpit. They put the wafer under their armpit to develop it. Yeah.
They have to shake it in the air. So
there's literally just a guy, and then he shakes it. He just waves the wafer just in the air back and forth until it develops.
China's been a lucrative market for electronics companies.
Yeah.
The country is strengthening its position in the artificial intelligence market, which the United States is trying to curb by banning or restricting advanced semiconductor sales to their rivals.
This is, just zoom back. I get what we're doing here, but this is just pissing up a rope. They're going to get it. This is all out there. You can slow them down for a while. Whatever amount of energy, effort, and money we put into slowing these guys down, can we please at least make sure we put 10x into pushing forward? I'm not saying don't try to slow them down.
Our own systems. I've said it before. I'll say it again. The CHIPS and Science Act was cool. It was an order of magnitude too small.
Yeah, it was a starting point. It wasn't a solution.
You weren't going to get more than that, but we needed a lot more than that.
You had to start somewhere. Totally.
And it should be a defense priority.
You're talking about like LRP. Most people can't see past November, right? They can't see past the that came out very
can't see all the way into November, can they?
The road there's two signs.
This is October 24th and they can't see to November.
Point being, most people don't think very strategically, don't think very far-fetched, right? So they're looking at this just going, why are we getting all this money why are we getting $6 billion to this Taiwanese company? It's like, because if you don't,
in real trouble,
then you are just going to be providers of corn. Like your masters will just be asking you for all the corn that you grow, and that's it. And that's all that we're going to be. I mean, the ask here, this is where this is going to get so fucked. The ask here is nobody sell to China. Nobody sell anything to China that they don't already have and that is new. That's basically the ask.
Related to advanced chips.
Like, are we going to do something really dumb and be like our corn subsidies, but we're just going to fucking apply it to chip subsidies to be like, oh, well, you would have normally sold $1 billion in chips to China, so we're going to just pay you that $1 billion so you don't do it.
We're going to give you $1 billion. Yeah.
No. Like, what other option do we have? They just want to sell shit that they make. They want to be the leader in the market. I get it. How do you argue against that?
Is that what happens?
That's what I think this is. That's what I think it's all. I look at this through the world of Occam's razor, like the entire life experience through Occam's razor. I think they're shaking us down
for the money that they would get from China.
I don't know if that's the ask. I don't know what they want, but they want something. They definitely want something.
Again, I'm going to backtrack and say we don't even know if TSMC has done any of this. This is just first level reports.
I don't think this would have been put out in the ether if there wasn't some modicum to it. I don't want to get too fifth dimensional chess on this fucking thing, but it does seem like this is a very odd thing to be aired in public. Let's just put it that way.
You wouldn't say it unless there was something behind it.
Yeah.
Two good sources, Reuters and The Information.
People I got to leave inside are talking about this, unless this is just The Information's way of trying to get people to pay their $300 sub for more information, and they just totally made the story up. But I got to believe that that would not work long tail for them. So there's something to this. I don't know what the end goal is. I feel like the end goal is TSMC saying, we want a little more of something. I don't know what that is. It might not be as easy as money.
Yeah.
They might be saying like, we're pretty fucking important. And I don't know if they want more visas to get more more people in, or if they just want to, like, for all I know, they all want to be airlifted into the U.S., the whole business. I have no idea. But I think that would be in our best interest.
I think we would gleefully do that.
You and I would gleefully do that. There's a whole bunch of people that say, no foreigners here. We all just taking our jobs. Like, no. They're allowing us to continue to be the leader of the free world.
You need these people to do these jobs.
Yeah.
Let's backtrack a second and say what started this whole thing back with Huawei. Huawei was providing banking services for Iran. The U.S. did not see that as a useful thing for them to be doing.
Sure.
In addition to that, they were also becoming the second largest manufacturers of smartphones. They had beaten out Apple.
Yeah.
Apple was in the 3 place. Samsung was in the number 1 place.
Yeah.
And that couldn't have gone over particularly well either.
Yeah. Look, you can read a couple different things into that. I still think a big concern, I think this should be a national security concern, is you do not want key portions of your infrastructure to be in the hands of your adversary. That seems like a very reasonable concern.
We certainly should be making the highest quality chips on the face of the earth. That should be a goal.
Of course. Not just chips. I'm thinking like device level. And you think about things that are integral parts of infrastructure, cameras, phones, vehicles, things like that. I believe that it's probably okay for that to be in the hands of an ally, but definitely not an adversary. And preferably you have that under sort of the U.S. umbrella of control, just meaning the U.S. court system follows U.S. law. Like, you want to be able to have some modicum of control over this.
Someone like, say, Taiwan.
Yeah, that's where it gets tricky, right? I mean, how did these guys grow? I guess at some point, up until maybe 5-10 years ago, we thought we had a horse in the race.
A chip maker like Intel.
I mean, like a U.S. horse in the race. You had Groves, Intel, you had TI before that.
Yeah.
I'm not willing to bet against Intel. I still think Intel could be a player.
They laid off 15,000 some people.
And that might be the right next step for them.
They're leaner now.
But I'm not sure that that's a sign of death. That might be a sign of rebuild and restructure. I don't know.
Sure.
But what I do believe is these ships take years to turn. This isn't something you're going to do on a dime, because these processes take years to build. They've got a lot of IP. They've got a lot of institutional knowledge. They've got a lot of really good labor, which is what TSMC is saying we're mainly lacking here in the U.S. is you can't just go pick up labor to do this easily.
Well, let's be clear.
Yeah.
There's human rights abuses happening in Taiwan.
Of course.
There are managers at TSMC who are sleeping under their desks 30 days straight because they need to get a project out the door. You're not going to have that in the U.S.
I don't know enough about this process of what actually happens, like between when you decide to make a chip and then a chip comes out the other end. Is there a lot of room there for things like AI to help us bring those costs of labor down and maybe bring that back onshore? I'm optimistic. I don't know, but it sure does seem in our best interest. I think you're seeing that here. We do need to do something about that, because this is the path to the future. If you don't control this, you don't win.
Right.
I don't think we can overstate that enough.
All right, we have to get out of here, but quickly before we do.
Oh, Jesus Christ. We're going to end on that note. I'm definitely moving to the woods.
Have you seen or read anything good this last week?
I have, and this is going to be out of character for me, and people already have a hard enough time telling our voices apart, so this is really going to fuck with them. I got to say, I've truly enjoyed watching the National League Championship Series this year.
So fun.
Yeah, it certainly has helped that our boys in blue won,
Sure.
but it was still a fun series nonetheless, and I'm usually the guy to just say like, hey, I'm going to fall asleep during this baseball game. It's still not the most exciting sport.
Oh, it's great. Come on, it's great.
Oh, it's just not hockey.
It is really good drama.
Well, okay, it certainly helps when you can tell the outcome of the game, at least during the championship series, by the third inning, because one team would have 10 fucking runs. And I was like, wait, what happened? Is this football?
By the way, only the case in the series that we just played.
Yeah.
You look at the Yankees Guardians, that was not the case.
Not the case at all. I'll be fascinating to see the World Series. After tomorrow, I think, right?
Tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern time, I believe.
8:08. What's up with that? Why is it 8:08 p.m.? Is that a thing?
I think the TV show starts at 8 and then the first pitch is at 8:08.
The game starts at 8:08. Yeah. They need 8 minutes to make sure that the broadcast works. Is that how it works?
Well, no, they got to set it up. They got to tell the story.
It's a long delay.
Yeah, no, they chat. They tell us all about it. They got a lot of commercials they're going to show.
Okay.
Then they got to get the desk off the field so that we can play some baseball.
Everybody gets their chance to get their stimulants in so they don't fall asleep during the game. I will say this. Watching Ohtani play has been so much fun.
Oh, my gosh.
Because not only is he an amazing athlete, but he's just a happy dude. He's just always smiling, having his best time. Like, he's just living his best life.
Yeah. And he is possibly the greatest to have ever played the game.
Right? Which is kind of incredible.
He's certainly in the conversation if he's not at the top.
They keep flashing these stats where he's like, oh, he's done more of this than anyone else ever. And I'm like, really? Like, he just seems like he's kind of leisurely walking around the park. Like, I think of most baseball players.
And by the way, this is his recovery year.
I know, it's bananas. Also, I think, and I know we joked about this at the start of the season, but they're not paying this guy enough money.
$700 million is not quite enough.
Man, yeah, I really think he's getting taken advantage of. Like, he should have held out for more.
You had something like 12 million viewers in just Japan alone. That's like 10% of the country.
I feel bad for, what is it, Yamamoto. That poor guy, he's like, I play for professional baseball baseball team? Like, yeah, we don't fucking care. We just want to see Ohtani. You've got these folks from Japan coming in on it's like a $20,000 3-day trip to come in and watch him play at Dodger Stadium. And they're like, Yamamoto? No, get that guy off the mound. No, we want to see Ohtani.
I'm going to speak up for Yamamoto. He's great. He's really talented.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm not saying he's not talented. I'm just saying I think the folks are coming here for Ohtani.
Yes.
I'm not saying he's not talented at all.
Ohtani's been in the league, though, for 6 years. We've seen him for a long time. There's kind of a satisfactory thing dramatically that is happening because he was playing for a lesser team for 6 years, whatever he played.
The Los Angeles Angels of Angels town.
All of a sudden, the first year on the Dodgers, he gets to go to the World Series. That's pretty great.
I still feel like you need to be in at least LA County if you want to have Los Angeles in your name. Like, I don't think that's unreasonable.
No.
Like, I don't think it's unreasonable. Preferably you're in LA City, but you know what? You want to be in Downey? Fine. You can be the LA fucking Angels of Downey or whatever.
But at least you're in LA County.
But not in fucking Orange County, and you're called the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Like, get fucked.
It's a bit of a stretch.
It's a bit of a stretch. Like, you know what? We're going to be the Los Angeles Giants of San Francisco. No, you don't.
Artie was a marketing guy, and he thought Los Angeles would draw more fans. I don't know if it did. Yeah. Maybe he was right, by the way. I've never looked at the numbers.
Anyway, now that I got that out of the way, what brisket videos have you been watching?
I'll tell you what I saw. I saw My Old School, a 2022 documentary. In 1995, it was discovered that Brandon Lee, who had a year earlier enrolled as a fifth-year student at Bearsden Academy Secondary School in Bearsden, Scotland, had actually been a 30-year-old former student, Brian McKinnon, posing as a 16-year-old.
Okay.
The story attracted widespread sensational news coverage at the time. McKinnon agreed to be interviewed for the film, but did not wish to appear on camera. So actor Alan Cummings stands in, lip-syncing to the audio of McKinnon's interviews. It sounds crazy, but it works great.
Pretty crazy.
The jig is up when a former head teacher confronts McKinnon with the 1975 report card for Brian McKinnon, which also shows top grades. From here, the story makes the 6 o'clock news, and about half the teachers there recalled having taught him in the 70s.
That's crazy.
The explanation for McKinnon's deception was that at the time, a person could not study medicine over the age of 30, so he had returned to school to get into medical school again. He said he'd been expelled after his first acceptance after becoming ill and failing his first-year exams.
Crazy, yes. Also crazy that at some point you just can't go back to school? Is that like...
Yeah, I have no idea what the rules in Scotland are as far as going back to medical school, but apparently you couldn't go back after your 30.
Also fascinating, like he's walking around, there's people here who clearly taught him 20 years previous.
But he probably looked a lot different. He might have done something to alter his appearance. Who knows, right?
Well, yeah, the beard probably didn't help. I'm assuming he's walking
and the
around.
pot belly.
I'm an early bloomer. Meanwhile, he's in class with his kid, but hey, nobody noticed that.
Sure.
That was just fine.
A completely crazy and unforgettable story, My Old School, streaming on Hulu now.
That sounds super weird and interesting. I think I'm into this.
It's great.
All right, I'll check it out.
That is the episode.
Thank you for joining us for all this nonsense. A truly terrible podcast from The Awful Company. Visit us on the web at nonsense.productions. I'm CJ Little.
I'm Jeff Parker.
If you like this program, please follow, download, subscribe, and like at Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Amazon Music, AntennaPod, iHeartRadio, Spotify, My Favorite Overcast, on your Sony Walkman, or wherever you may get your podcast from.
Yes, I get them on my Sony Walkman. Nonsense uses the Arch Linux operating system with the KDE desktop for its editing systems. Infinite customization for maximum productivity with no ads and no bloatware. As always, open source and free. Special thanks to our floor director, Ron Niv.
Thanks, Ronald. We'll be every Thursday morning for more nonsense. Please join us. And now I sing. The Awful Company prevents this episode from being completed.